Hello everybody and welcome to another unit review, and today we're looking at the other 5-star of the latest FF4 banner. Almost tripped over my words there, but I think I handled it pretty well. Alright, so now that we got some cool music going that is really loud on my end, let's talk about Rubicante. Rubicante is the other 5-star on the current FF4 banner. Unlike Global, where Barbie essentially got the 5-star, here we have Rubicante. And honestly, I'm not entirely convinced this is a better option. Anyway, a lot of people will argue and fight about who is better deserving and what it means for marketing and blah, blah, blah. Point is here is we're looking at the unit himself, and Rubicante pretty much might as well just call him Fire Lord for the rest of this review and the rest of eternity, because yeah, it's pretty much the Fire Lord. He is fire incarnate. He likes fire. Have you heard about fire? Have you heard about our Lord and Savior Fire? Fire, 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 fire. Anyway, moving on. Let's start as we always do with his Trust Mastery. Now his Trust Mastery is an accessory. 20 magic and 30% to magic and spirit, as well as 20% to fire and ice resistance. It's a pretty solid little accessory that gives some nice resistance to some good, some maybe problem elements. But 30% to spirit and magic is actually really good. It's good for this guy. It's also potentially good if you ever get a Golbez, because this can go on Ruby here. It could also go on Golbez pretty easy, since Golbez depends a little bit on magic and spirit. Now, Trust Mastery-wise, Super Trust Mastery-wise, we have a 30% to fire resistance and an 80% magic when equipped with a robe. It's essentially just a whole bunch of magic for equipping a robe, which most characters will anyway who are dealing magic damage. So in general, this is really great for true dual hand builds where the unit has a free materia slot. Other than that, it's okay. I don't think the Super Trust Mastery is really all that good. It's not terrible, it's just not all that good either. Now, limit burst wise, we are looking at a 7 hit at 10 frames, so it's not Holy Explosion, don't get excited. Fire damage that maxed out, well, first of all, minimum it's only 1000%, maxed it's 2700, so leveling this limit burst is kind of important for doing damage. Also reduces fire resistance by maxed out 100% for 3 turns to all enemies, which is great because, again, did I mention fire? And also, magic fire damage 300 per turn for all enemies for 3 turns. So it hits the enemy and then it continues to do damage every single turn. That's pretty cool since it has such a strong debuff on the fire element. Now, of course, we're just going to mention the really obvious problem with Ruby right off the get-go. Ruby is fire only, doesn't have any other options. So hey, if you're fighting anything where the enemy is immune to fire, Ruby's not going to help you very much. And that is kind of sad. Stat-wise, Ruby isn't terrible. Defense, not the greatest. Spirit is actually kind of up there. Magic is 215, so that is 4 points lower than the top mages, so that hurts actually quite a bit. HP is a little bit higher and has a pretty good amount of MP, so there's some potential in Ruby stats. By the way, I'm just going to mention it right now because it's an elephant in the room. I only have my Rubicante at level 101. I just don't have the Cactars to spare right now. Keep in mind, I have a lot of Cactars reserved for a certain unit that starts with A and ends with Axstar. Anyway, so Ruby's stats aren't the best. They're also not the worst. Someday I'll get him leveled. Now, Rubicante does have Blizzaga, but that's pretty much the only spell that isn't, Also has Raise. Raise isn't that good. Osmos, good for MP. Firaja, Flare, and a brand new spell, Meltdown. Meltdown is actually not bad here. 48 MP, 1 hit, 450%, and that's the base, because Rubicon has a lot in his kit that increases his spell's damage. But it's AoE and it reduces resistance to fire for 3 turns to all enemies. So Meltdown's kind of cool. I wish Meltdown was a little bit better, but I don't know, maybe it could be broken. And the last ability is the 28 MP one-hit magic fire attack that starts at 120 and gets consecutive amounts per use, up to a total of 1200. So about after, 9 times, you'll be doing a max amount of damage. It's not great. It's not terrible either. It's okay. Now, Rubicon does have dual black magic, which is good. You are going to want that for casting multiples of the spell. Increase magic and HP by 30 and 20% respectively. Whole bunch of modifiers for every single spell. 400% modifier for Flare, though. Not that Flare was that strong to begin with, so that's rather unimpressive. Every turn he will... Got a little bit ahead of myself. Restore 1... For 30 MP, Rubicon has an ability that restores 1000 times 3.4 HP to all enemies. Okay. Increases magic by 120% for 3 turns to the caster and grants triple cast. So you're healing the enemy for really nothing in terms of a trial. Doesn't really matter that much. But you're getting triple cast for black magic for 2 turns. It's kind of a break even, although you could potentially accelerate faster into his fire damage spell. It's okay. Increase spirit by 30%, that's pretty good since Ruby has a pretty high spirit. Increase limit burst gauge fill rate by 50% and a 5% MP per turn. Not bad, not great either. Now, a 25 MP ability is kind of one of the interesting ones. Now, if you use... normally this ability reduces the ice resistance by 80% to the caster forever. Literally forever. It's quoted as 9,999 turns. Okay, but for doing that, you get an increased limit burst damage by 1.4 times for 3 turns. You also gain access to the following skill, which is only 1 use, and reduce the resistance to enemies of fire resistance by 75%. Now, the reducing damage by, the resistance by 75%, pretty good. The ice hit is okay, providing you can keep Ruby protected. So what's the ability you get for 1 use? You only get it for 1 use, too. Well, it is a 60 MP, 20 hit at 6 frames fire magic damage, 600% magic, ignoring 50% spirit to all enemies. And it gains a copy of itself. No, it gains a new ability for the next turn that is also 60 MP. So it's kind of like use this ability, then use this ability, and then use this ability. So it's kind of stacking. Now, the last one is a 20 hit, 6 frame fire. Wait, that can't be right. Let me just double read this to make sure that I am reading it correctly. Oh, it's a 600%, and then the next time you get to use essentially the same ability, same frames, same details, but it's a 900%. So it's like a flame tornado that's getting ever more flamey. Fire, you guys. Anyway. Ruby also has a counter ability that has a 35% chance to activate, whether it's physical or magical, that gives a 1 hit at 180% magic, fire magic, of course, to all enemies that reduces, fire resistance in case of a physical attack for 2 turns to all enemies, and in case of a magic attack, spirit by 65% to all enemies. So kind of an interesting counter. Also, getting hit physically opens up to use that 60 MP ability once, and getting hit by magic allows Ruby to use triple cast black magic. So the counters here are kind of the big thing in Ruby's kit. The counters allow, will dictate the strategy of how you are using Ruby. Increase magic by 50%, MP by 20%, natural 100% resistance to fire, to quote a movie, I'm fireproof, you're not. Okay, for equipping his own TMR. For some reason I want to call it a her, but it's a him, as far as I know. Equipping his own TMR, increase magic, spirit, HP, and MP by 20%, 100% modifier for all the fire spells, 400% modifier for flare, 200% modifier for meltdown, so basically strengthen spells. Also uses an ability at the start of battle or when revived, which gains access to his more powerful fire chaining ability. So Ruby is really dependent on being able to use this ability, but has a lot of ways to consistently use it, although so many of the time you're only getting one use of it. Not sure how I feel about that. Cooldown abilities, available turn 1, 5-turn cooldown, reduce resistance to the enemy for fire by 100% for 4 turns to all enemies, increase magic by 150% to the caster, gain triple class black magic, and also open a business. No. Gains that 60 MP ability for 1 turn, as you guessed it. Oh, for 3 turns, sorry. So that's a pretty good cooldown ability. Sorry, I read one line up. Triple cast basically activates a lot for multiple turns, and you hope that Ruby isn't just going to get pummeled and die. Now, on an 8-turn cooldown available on turn 8, 128 MP, a 20 hit at 10 frame fire magic attack at 2000%, ignoring 50% spirit to all enemies, that increases the limit burst gauge by 36 to the caster, and gain for 2 turns. Wow, 2 turns even. That 60 MP ability. Okay, well, we'll just keep moving. Now, also in Ruby's kit, increase magic by 20%, 75% modifier to all of those big abilities that you want to be using, and at the start of fight, uses 1 ability to the caster that increases magic by 100% for 9,999 turns. Huh. Okay, so basically Rubicon just buffs himself at the start of battle. Increase defense by 20%, increase magic by 40%, increase resistance to fire and ice by 50%. So, long story short, Rubicon has a lot invested in fire. As a matter of fact, if fire ever drops in stock value, we're totally screwed. Or, well, Rubicon is totally screwed. Because so much in Rubicon's kit depends just on fire. Fire, fire, fire. What I do like about Rubicon's kit is even though, Ruby is really, really, really desperate to get that 60 MP ability going. One thing, Ruby essentially really benefits from a true dual hand build, and that's kind of great because Ruby doesn't exactly use a ton of MP, which is kind of nice. Alright, let's use this. So there's that debuff of the fire element for multiple turns. And also gives us triple cast, 150% magic, although I have literally nothing on Ruby right now. But check it out, we got triple cast. So we can use Meltdown and the stacking fire magic in 1 turn. That's pretty cool. I mean, so Ruby might see a lot of the same criticisms that CG Ignacio has. Fire element, fire element, fire element. Nothing else is in Ruby's kit that really helps Ruby become anything better. And that's a problem. That is, in general, a problem with Rubicon, for sure. Now, Rubicon does have a chaining partner, and we've talked about this before in different videos, where it's basically Golbex. So let's just prove that right now. And it's a pretty nice little solid chain that does a fair amount of damage, too. Considering that my Rubicon actually had really nothing equipped. Although we did... I suppose we did do a lot the previous. Anyway, 60 million off a chaining ability isn't bad. Long story short, I think Rubicon is a pretty solid unit, but totally dependent on the fire element. If Rubicon can't use fire in a fight, then you pretty much can't bring Rubicon. If the enemy is weak to fire, now we're talking. Benefits more from a true dual hand build than anything. Has some really nice counters at some good percentages that have a chance to not only deal damage to the enemies in retaliation, but either debuff and give triple cast, or give his chaining ability, as well as a fire debuff too. And it's all AoE. So really, Rubicon just shines super well when the fire element is a possibility. If the fire element is not a possibility, well, there's always other units. So Rubicon, it's an interesting unit. Time will tell if I can use it. I'm saving basically all of the resources for Axstar. So afterwards, maybe I will do an updated video later showing Rubicon at full strength when I can actually build Rubicon for full strength. I'm missing TMR, I'm missing just a ton of stuff right now, so building Rubicon, it's not so easy. I wonder if Rubicon actually, maybe Rubicon would be better with dual wield. I'd have to think about that. So that's all for now. I will see you in the next video where, I don't know. We'll see. Talk to you later.